Hi there, this is Tammy with Tammy's Stamping Therapy. This is Stamping 101, Chapter 3. I apologize I missed last week. I was out of town for part of the weekend and then unplugged for the rest of the weekend. Every now and then I just have to take some time for myself, and that's what I did last weekend and the week before, and then this week we're both crazy busy with work at the two jobs that I have. So here I am back this week. I was trying to decide what I was going to do for my third video, and Dana Mankey helped me to decide. She bought some red rubber stamps and some wooden blocks and was trying to figure out how to put them together. So I wanted to do kind of a... I'm still going to make two cards in this video, but I wanted to show you the difference in all the different ways that stamps can be mounted, and also that you don't have to have blocks. There's a tool you can use, a stamp positioning tool. So I'm going to take these away, and I'm going to let you know when I first started stamping, the way that I bought stamps was like this. You can still buy stamps like this. This is one of my favorite stamps, and I have stamped this on tumbled marble tile coasters. I just love this stamp. And it doesn't, let's see, Inka Dinka Doo is the name of the company. So this is the way I used to buy stamps. They always came like this. They were already put together. You can still buy these in the stores that are put together like this. It's a wooden block with red rubber, and then it has a foam cushion. I'd been stamping for a few years when clear stamps came out, and they called them acrylic, I think is what they called them. I can't remember. But when clear stamps first came out, they did not stamp nice. A red rubber stamp gives you a very crisp, clean image. And the clear stamps that came out at the beginning, your images were blurry. They were awful. So for years, I resisted. I would only stamp with wood block red rubber stamps. And then Stampin' Up!, who I'd been a demonstrator with for several years, started bringing in what they call photopolymer stamps. And I was very skeptical, but when they brought them in, the first year, I think you had a choice when you were buying a stamp set. Some of the stamp sets came in either wood mount or clear mount. That's not right. They came in either wood mount, clear mount, or clear stamps, I think. Maybe not. Now, if they have a stamp set that's photopolymer, it only comes in photopolymer, and it does not come in red rubber at all. So this is the way I first used to buy stamps. And then when I started using Stampin' Up! Stamps, they came like this. Well, they didn't come like this. They were in a different case. I don't have any of those cases anymore. They were kind of a clamshell type case. But the way that, when I say they came like this, I mean the blocks are separate. The labels for the blocks are separate. And I got to be careful taking this out because it's a puzzle when you go to put it back together. So I should take these out the way that they are. And at the beginning, the stamps came on a sheet like this that you had to cut. You had to cut them out yourself. You can see that these are die cut. So you don't have to do any trimming yourself. And then I'm not going to do this because this is not my stamp set. A friend brought me some stamps that I'm selling for her on eBay. And I need to be able to sell this stamp set as new. So you would peel the back off of here and find the block that it fits on the best. It looks like it fits well on this block. I'd peel the back off, put it on there, turn it over, take the label that goes with it. Wishing you. It's this label, and I would put this label on the block. The other thing about the way they used to be was, if I can get that back in there. Ha, I did it. The other thing about the way they used to be was that you also had to cut these out. It was one long sheet, and these are die cut also. A few years ago, well, I can't remember how many years ago, Stampin' Up! Changed and they stopped, they started die cutting their stamps. I'm trying to remember the history of all of this. I believe that this year is the first year that there are no more wood mount stamps in their catalog. It might have been last year. I'd have to look at the catalog to be sure. And they still have red rubber stamps, but they are either, they used to call them clear mount, and I'm out of places to put things over here. And what the clear mount meant was they would fit onto a clear block. That's what these are. And they just had, they have a label you can put on them, and then they would cling to the block. They didn't cling very well, so I stopped putting my labels on years ago, and also the labels, it's kind of hard to line them up perfect. And I don't care that the label's not on there, so I stopped putting my labels on years ago, and I just stick them in here because eventually when I sell the stamp set, whoever buys it is going to want that label, most likely. Last year they changed their clear mount stamps to cling mount stamps, and the problem was with the previous labels, they didn't stick very well to the block, so you'd be stamping and it would fall off. They changed it to a cling mount so it sticks a lot better. You have to be careful. You don't want to leave them on the blocks because they'll get stuck there really good and you'll have a hard time getting them off. So when you're buying stamps, a lot of the red rubber stamps you buy these days, I don't know if I have, I do. Okay, I'll show you. Show you. So these stamps come, red rubber stamps, and they usually come in a cellophane bag of some sort, and then you can store them in their bags. I like these stamp cases that Stampin' Up! Uses, and it makes them fit with the rest of my stamps just fine on the little shelf that I have for them. So I took them out of their packaging and I put them in here, and then I actually put the label that's inside this because you can see you can get in there and put it in there. So you can still buy red rubber stamps, but they're not made to put on to wooden blocks. They're made to cling to an acrylic block. So what you do with the red rubber stamps is it might have a label on the back, it might not, and when you put it on here it's going to cling. It's not coming off, and you're going to use it to stamp. The wooden blocks, I'm not sure what you would use them for anymore. Once I switched to this kind of stamping, the red rubber on the clear blocks, I've never gone back to wooden blocks. It's kind of funny, at the beginning, my sister had some, she bought some of the clear stamps, and my first thoughts were, I don't want to have to keep mounting my stamps every time. But when you do mount your stamps every time, you only need a few blocks. These are 5 of the blocks that Stampin' Up! Has. There's 2 bigger sizes also. And really, you can get bigger ones and they'll fit everything. You can put smaller stamps on here. I like matching my stamps to my block size, but this size block I could use for smaller stamps. I can use for anything up to this size. And then I need a bigger one if I have a bigger stamp. But so you only need a few blocks. I have a lot because I teach classes and you need extra blocks when you're teaching classes, but you don't have to have a ton of blocks. You can just switch as you go to stamp. So that is the thing with the red rubber and the clear block. So Dana, the stamps that you bought were made to go on a block like this. And as I said yesterday in a comment, I'm going to send you a couple of blocks. I'll probably send you this one. I can't tell what size your flowers are for sure, but I'll probably send you this one and the next size up. There is another way to mount your stamps that does not include blocks at all, and it's called a stamp positioning tool. The very first one on the market was called the Misty, and it's pink. It now comes in 3 sizes. I had the Misty for a while. Tim Holtz came out with one. I don't think it's available anymore. And then a couple of years ago, Stampin' Up! Came out with one. Stampin' Up! Calls theirs the Stamparatus. The different, and I don't have a Misty or a Tim Holtz to show you. I can tell you the differences. The big difference in this is these plates come off. If you're using a Misty or the Tim Holtz, there's hinges here and the plates don't come off. These plates come off and you can use them on two sides. So it comes with two plates. Today I'm going to show you just the basics. I have planned a video for the future that's going to show you all the wonderful things you can do with this. You can do more than just basic stamping with this. But I'm just going to show you the basic stamping for today. So it wouldn't matter if this came off. You could do this with a Misty or the Tim Holtz or any of them. So I'm going to start. Now it's card time. So hopefully, Dana, this helped you. Hopefully it helped everybody who's a little bit confused about the different kinds of stamps. Oh, I did get out. This was the other kind of stamps. These are Stampin' Up's Photopolymer Stamps. And you just take it off of here and you stick it on the block. And it sticks really well. These sometimes you need to have a cushion. So with I would have my paper on here. This is the foam mats that you can get at Michael's, probably all craft stores. This is half. I cut it in half. I buy the placemat sized ones because, again, I use them for my classes, but I would have this down for a placemat and then stamp on here. Because these don't have a cushion, like the rubber stamps have a foam cushion, sometimes you need this. Sometimes you don't, and I don't actually end up using it all the time. But this is the other type of stamp, and it works with the same blocks. It also works with the stamp positioning tool. What I'm doing today is a red rubber stamp. So let me show you. This is going to be another very basic card. It's a card that's a kind that, it's still not one that I use, but I still want to stay with the basics. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to use this adorable Zany Zebras set, and we're going to make a very basic card. So again, with the layers that I showed you on chapter 2, darn, I was going to get out those cards. The butterfly card. I like to do, so my card base, I like to do a top fold portrait card. My card base is 11 by 4 1/4. And then I like to do this size layer, which is 5 by 4 by 3 3/4, 5 by 3 3/4. And then this size is 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. So I'm going to start with this. I've already made one that I can show you, but I want to show you how I make this. So I'm going to determine where I want to put this. When you buy this Stamparatus, I think it comes with some of these. If it doesn't, you can get extras. It does come with these magnets, and I added duct tape because they're hard to get up off the, they're very strong magnets and they hold your paper down. One other thing I should show you about this before I start, this has a foam pad in it that you need to be sure is in here if you're using the clear stamps. It doesn't really matter if it's in here for the red rubber stamp, so I just leave it there. I know that I want to put this right here. I've already made one card, and then I'm just going to put these down on the corners. And you need to be careful with these. If you get these close together, and they're better because they have duct tape, but if you get them close together, they're going to go like that, and they can break. They also can pinch your fingers, so be very careful with these magnets. This Stamparatus does have a place on the bottom to store each of them when you're not using it. This also comes with a case that you can get, a carrying case. So I put my paper where I want it. It's a little bit crooked. Doesn't really matter for what I'm doing. And then I want to do a card that says kick up your heels. So I want to use this zebra here who's kicking up his heels. So I take the stamp, put it stamp down, and decide where I want it on my card. I want it kind of in the middle. And then I'm going to go like this and pick it up. There it is there. Put it so you can see it. And then I'm going to ink it up right here on this. Stampin' Up! Has some ink spots. They're little 1-inch ink cubes that work very well for stamping with the Stamparatus. And then I'm just going to go like this and press down gently. I don't have to press really hard, and I'm going to leave it there for a second as I discussed in a previous video. And then I pick it up. If it happened that something didn't stamp well, I can ink this up again. This is what's nice about the Stamparatus, is if for some reason it doesn't ink well, I can ink this up again and do this. And it made a darker image. It would have caught any place that was missing. I actually like that darker image better than the card I made earlier. So that's the piece for the front of my card. For the inside of my card, I want it in a different spot. So I can leave it where it is and try to move this, but it's not going to work. So I'm going to clean it first, and I just clean my stamps with water. Stampin' Up! Sells Stampin' Mist, which is for cleaning your stamps. It smells like roses, and I don't really like that scent. And water works fine. It doesn't dry out your stamps, and I clean them up well. So I'm just going to do the upper corner this time. I'm not going to do the lower corner. And I want this down here. So I'll pick it up. Here's my pad. I forgot where I put it. Ink it up. And then I'll take it off. And then I can also take my envelope, and I can kind of see where it's going to stamp, if I'm going to like it there. That'll be okay. And there it is. So I've just done all of my stamping. With this one tool, I didn't have to get out multiple blocks. I have friends who only stamp with the Stamparatus and don't even own blocks anymore, because you can use this for any size stamp, and it does so many cool things. So I'm going to tell you, you're going to need to watch when I do the video showing all the other things this can do. It's amazing. I have no clear space anywhere to set anything. You can see I have an L-shaped craft desk. I started to say craft desk, and it's piled high. I have to clean it off before I can start another project. I don't want this for what I'm doing next, because I'm going to color. So I'm going to show you how I colored this guy. We have these amazing watercolor pencils, and they come in 2 different color palettes. This is 2 sets right here, because I had 2 sets. I was storing them a different way, but I have different kinds of colored pencils, and this has 4 different compartments that you can put them in. So my Stampin' Up! Ones are in here. I am using, if I can find it, here it is. Today I'm using Granny Apple Green. So what did I do to this? This got overspray on it. Can you see that? You have to be careful when you're spraying water. I don't know where this was that it shouldn't have been. Huh. That's a bummer, because I don't want to use that. Where did I put my Stamparatus? See, this is I'm not editing this video. This is real life. I make mistakes all the time, and I have to compensate for those mistakes. And I did something silly. I sprayed. There's some on my envelope too. And my stamp wasn't clean. We'll see what happens when I stamp this, if I'm happy with it or not, or if I need a new sheet. I do need a new sheet because he's got goobers in his head. Actually, the wonders of cardstock is it's got two sides and you can turn it over. I quite often turn it over. I make mistakes on this a lot. And it is so nice that there's two sides. There, that's better. I'll clean that up later, because I've already wasted enough time. So what I'm going to do is just take this colored pencil. I am not watercoloring. I'm just coloring. So I'm just going to take this colored pencil and I'm going to color in everywhere that he has stripes and where his hair is. This is quick and easy coloring. I'll do, at some point I'll do some actual coloring videos and I'll show you all the different ways to color, and I'll show you the things that you can do with these watercolor pencils that are amazing. But for this, it's just, this guy is a fun little drawing, so he doesn't need artist type coloring. He just needs some color added to him. So there he is. Isn't he cute? I'm going to do the same thing to my inside one. I'm trying to make this video short, but it's getting longer than I wanted, so I apologize for that, because I need to show you two different cards. The other one will go really quick though, but it still will probably be a longer video than I want, so I apologize for that. I'll color this later. You guys have seen me color. You don't have to continue to see me color. You see this mark here? I'm going to put ribbon on the card, and to do that I'm going to cut a piece of ribbon, because this card is going to be really basic and it needs some color. And I'm doing this before I finish the card because this needs a few minutes to dry. This is my Granny Apple Green Dark Stampin' Blend marker. This is an alcohol marker, and I'm just laying it. This works on Stampin' Up! Has several ribbons that this works amazingly on. So this is crinkled seam binding ribbon. It only comes in white, but you can make it any color you want. There's different ways to color ribbon. This is just one of them. This is the quick and easy way. Set this aside for a second. I don't need that anymore. And I'll bring in my other pieces. So I'm going to do my inside, and I'm just using, you don't need a lot, I'm using some glue. I should do an adhesive video also. There's many different ways to put your cards together. Sometimes I use this, sometimes I use different kinds of adhesives. This one's quick and easy, depends on what you're doing. Cute little one on the back, but it does not matter. Now, one thing I'll tell you, when you cut your cardstock with the trimmer, it kind of makes, because I cut this from the other side, it makes kind of an edge there. And what I do is take, because I turned it over, I take my bone folder and just smooth down this edge, because I don't like the way that edge looks very well. And I'm going to stick this on the front. This is going to be a really basic card. As I said, not the kind of card I make when I'm making cards. Although I hope I remember to show you. Just to get this out, maybe that'll help. So there's our cute little zebra. The next thing we need is a sentiment. So I'm going to take the sentiment out of there. Here it is. It's called Kick Up Your Heels. This is 1/2 inch. This one has some edge issues too. This piece of cardstock is 1/2 inch wide and 3 inches long. So I'm going to stamp this. Hopefully my head won't get in there, because I need to get it straight. Well, my head is going to get in there. I can't see it. Hopefully it's straight. The phone is in my way to get my head over it so I can see it. So that's up higher than I want, so I'm going to pull it down. Try again. I know that's way too low, but there, that's better. It's still up a little high, but it's better. And then what I'm going to do is make this into a banner. And these scissors don't work well for that. You need pointed edge scissors. So I'm going to cut up. And you saw again, I wasn't happy with one side. I flipped it over and used the other side. And cut up. There. There's my little banner. It is way too high, no matter. I like this side better. And to put it on here, it would blend in. So I'm going to take Granny Apple Green ink. Sorry, I was trying to figure out where I put it. Granny Apple Green ink and a yeah, my mind went blank. Little Stampin' sponge. That's not what it's called. Sponge dauber. That's what it's called. Man, brain farts today. And because I was too high, I put my ink a little higher up on the bottom. And then I'm going to put dimensionals on the back of this. I love my dimensionals. And I'm going to put this right here. And then the card needs something. Well, in my opinion, it needs a lot, but it's going to get only one more thing. This is for basic stamping. There's nothing wrong with this kind of stamping. It just isn't enough for me. Tie a little bow. A little bow. And for some reason I have a hard time tying this particular ribbon. I don't have trouble with the other ribbons, but this particular one I have trouble with. I want this bow to be small. Okay. And glue dots. I think I may have said this in a different video. Glue dots come with the paper wrapped around them. And I see people go like this and pull off a big line of glue dots. They wait until they get to here, which my first one's right here, and then they rip off a strip of them. That's not the way they work. They need to stay on the roll, and you need to keep them covered up. So my first one is right there, and I fold it down right below it, so the rest are still covered. I also don't touch the glue dot. I take my item to the glue dot, and then pick it up, and the glue dot is attached. And I'm going to put this on his cute little neck. I think this is still a little bit long. And there's my card. This card was made with the Stamparatus and one block. I could have put that stamp on the Stamparatus if I was one of those who only stamps with a stamp positioning tool. I could have done it all on there. I'm not one of those. I use the stamp positioning tool just for special effects, which, as I said, I'll show you in another video. So that's that card. And now to build a little bit more on the layering video that I did last time, I'm going to show you how to make another card, and it's going to use designer paper. So for this card, I don't know what's wrong with my voice. I'm going to use the Pampered Pets Suite. Look at that. This is a brand new piece of cardstock, and there's a red mark on it. I don't know how that got there. So I'm going to use the Pampered Pets suite of products. It is this very cute stamp set. And it also has dies that go with it. We're not using dies today. We're not using any tools except for stamp blocks, cardstock, ink. So, lay out my parts here. This time, I still have these same layers, but this layer here is designer paper. So it's still 4 3/4. That's the other side. Fun, huh? 4 3/4 by 3.5 for the paper. 5 by 3 3/4. Sorry, I was crooked. The nice thing about this glue is you have wiggle room. 5 by 3 3/4. For the cardstock, this is basic gray. I just chose a color to that I think is in the paper. And there's basic card. I haven't done anything else to it yet. What I'm going to do to this is I have this cute little dog. I have this dog. I have this piece of cardstock that is 2 by 2.5, and the way I decide that so I take my ruler and I measure the stamp, and then I add a little bit because I want a little bit of space top and bottom. I'm going to stamp him with my black. In the center. And I'm holding it for a few seconds. I'm also going to stamp him. I don't even know what that piece was for because I have an extra piece here. So it doesn't matter that it has red on it. I'm also going to stamp him on the inside. And I'm going to stamp him on the envelope. Make sure I have him on the right part of the envelope. I'm done with him. Put the lid on this before I mess it up. And what I'm going to do with him is I'm going to leave him. I'm going to say this is a white dog. So I'm going to color his collar in red. This is our Stampin' Right markers. This is the same ink that's in the ink pads. It's not an alcohol marker. It's just a marker. And then his nose, this is an alcohol marker, but it doesn't have to be. It's just what I had that's black. His nose I'm going to color in black. And the rest of him I'm going to leave because I'm going to say he's a white dog. There is way more I could do with him as a white dog as far as coloring goes, but this is not a coloring video, so I'm not going to do that. This is just a basic stamping video. So that's all I'm doing to the inside. I'll do this and put this in there. And I've already stamped my Created by Tammy on the back. I'm not doing anything else to the envelope. This I'm going to layer onto this piece of gray, which is alcohol markers bleed through the cardstock. This is 1/4 of an inch bigger on both sides, which gives you an 1/8 of an inch border. I'm going to put this on Stampin' Dimensionals. I like things popped up. I like dimension in my cards. So this is still a really basic card. It's added another set of layers from this. Well, this still has an extra layer, but this is kind of different. And it's making the card look way different. I use this style of card a lot, showcasing my designer papers, or this piece might be embossed with an embossing folder, or it might be random stamping, which I'll show you on a different zebra card. So I'm going to put that up a little bit. It's a hair crooked, but that's okay. I'm also going to stamp a little dog dish. I'm going to color it with my red marker. Make sure that dries. And coloring, you just need a really light touch. These markers have fragile tips, and you just need to barely touch. You don't need to mash it down. Like with the color pencil, I had to push pretty hard, but with this, it's fragile, just a very light touch. And then I'm just going to cut this out. Very quick and easy. Things that have straight or just curved lines are very easy to fussy cut. There's that word again that I've talked about before. Somebody made it up. To me, I'm cutting it out. That's what I'm doing, is just cutting it out. Putting a Stampin' Dimensional on there. And I'm putting this right here. And then with this, I'm going to stamp my sentiment. And my sentiment says, I hope your day is a real treat. I'm going to show you something with red rubber stamps. Something about them. You see how that's not really full. If I were using my stamparatus, I could stamp that again, but it's not really full. The red rubber stamps have like a little film on them. Where's my stamping? Oh, here it is. They have you can't really see it, and it's not something that's on there on purpose. It's just residue from from creating the stamps. And so sometimes, depending on how they stamp, you see it more on solid images than on a line image. I'll take one of these nail blocks and just gently do this. I'm not pushing hard, but it'll make a difference in how it stamps. And I try to go, it doesn't make lines on it, but I still try to go all directions just in case. If you have a solid red rubber stamp, if you had a balloon or a circle or something, you would probably need to do that a lot more. So hopefully that fixed this. Also with a fabric pad, I will do this. I'm still not pushing hard. Remember in the first video I showed how people squish down and get they get ink on the block and where it doesn't belong on the stamp. This, just because it's a fabric pad, it's a linen pad, it helps to ink it up better. So I'll do this and then tap it. And that is a much better image than I had before. So I'm going to put this on here. I'm again going to probably have my head in the way. So I need to see what I'm doing. This one's a little lower than I want, but that's okay. I'm fine with it. I'm going to again flag the ends. The flagging the ends, you could leave it as a rectangle and you could layer it on color, but I feel like flagging the ends adds a little bit of, oh, and I didn't tell you how I did that. I'm cutting straight down the middle, which kind of helps me to get my flags right. They're not perfect. There are punches. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but I'm happy with it like that. Oh, why this is still open. I don't need you anymore. Sorry. Crashing. And then again, I want this, if I just put this on here, it's going to kind of blend in. I want it to stand out. So I'm using real red ink and another sponge dauber. And I'm going to put ink around the edges. I mentioned that the Pampered Pets is a suite of products, and what that means is it has stamps and dies and ribbons and charms and designer paper. I think that's all that this suite has. So I'm going to show you a couple of the other, this card's going to have a couple of the other things on it. So here is, I'm not sure when I would use this stamp. Hope your day is a real treat. Really not sure. I think that's crooked too. So these are the charms. There's little dog bones. You can see that. And there's little hearts. So I'm going to take the little heart. It comes with a ribbon combo pack. That's this black and white baker's twine and then this thin red stitched ribbon. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off a piece of this. This is pretty stiff baker's twine. I'm sad that Stampin' Up! Took out the white baker's twine. I used to use it all the time. I'm still going to use it. I have several packages. But I'm sad that it retired, because if I want to do a card where I only show you things you can buy, then I can't use it in those instances. So I just tied a knot on there. And then I'm going to take a glue dot, and again, I'm folding this down. That will cooperate with me. I'm taking my little gem and attaching it to the dot. Then I'll pull it off, and I'll put it right there. And then the last thing that I want to do to this is to add a little bow. So I'm going to tie a bow with this ribbon. And use another glue dot. And if the glue dots are too big, you can kind of fold them in half. And I'm going to put that right there. So these are my 2 cards that I made today. Sorry, I have mess everywhere. Messy, messy, messy. They're made similarly, but this one looks a lot different because it has designer paper. This one is cute. This would be like cute for a kid's card. And I'll show you another card I made with the zebras. I made this one, and there's 3 zebras in the stamp set. I stamped all 3. This is called random stamping. I colored them 3 different colors. Still used Kick Up Your Heels. This I cut out by hand, and I put a flower behind it. I didn't do the sponging, and then added that in the inside. And then the other thing I want to show you is cards that don't have any stamping, but they're really pretty. So this is one that I made. Somebody asked me for some cards. Lisa Douglas asked me for some thank you cards. This card has a layer of seaside. No, can't remember the name of this color. It's one of the new in colors. Oh well, it's pretty. And then one of the new designer papers, and then a thank you die cut. This has been retired, this thank you die cut, but I kept it because I love it. And then they have matching ribbons. So I made a bunch of these cards. And these are so simple. You're just cutting. You do have to know how to die cut, but so this is another way to make a very simple card, but it has a punch because it packs a punch, I should say. This paper, I think, is stunning. This is from several different paper packs. I really like this one, and it's funny. This paper, it's from this same paper pack. This is Petal Pink, which is my least favorite Stampin' Up! Color. These 2 papers are in the same pack, and I really like this. I like the way this card looks. And you can see that I've colored the ribbon. This is our white metal-edged ribbon, and I've colored it with the gray marker. This is one of the new in colors. I think it's called Magenta Madness with the matching ribbon. And I can't remember the name of this one. It's a pretty blue color. So that's it for today. I hope that it was helpful in learning the different ways to attach stamps to blocks and or a stamping platform. Please let me know if you have questions in the comment box below. I would be happy to answer any questions. Also, please let me know if there are any techniques you want to learn that I can put in a future video. I'm starting with the basics. Like I said, I mean, this is a card I would use. This card I would use. Well, this one, I would use it. It's just not my style of card. That's not the way I make cards. This one, is still very, very basic, the way that it was made. And there is so much more I would do if I wasn't doing a basic video. This would have been die cut. The dog would have been probably die cut because there's die cuts that match this suite. There's just a lot more I would have done. Anyway, thank you for watching. Let me know if you have questions or comments below. And I will see you next week for Chapter 4. Have a wonderful weekend.